Welcome back to the VHS Vault for a very special episode. Only recently we lost the great Roger Corman, who,
Yes.
for people in our generation and generations before, was one of those filmmakers that, well, was so unique. He made what we would call the B grade movies, and
Yeah, he was known for being, shall we say, frugal. He was a
cheap.
frugal gentleman. He could make a movie for $17.03. And of course, after he died, he was buried in an igloo cooler, in a landfill. It was quite a tasteful and frugal ceremony. Now, in all seriousness, Roger Corman, bless you, sir. So many great memories of so many schlocky movies, but I loved every single one of them. But we're going to talk about the one Roger Corman movie that went unreleased.
And I
The
what a perfect
only
choice.
one.
What the
Yes.
perfect choice that we do the one movie that never actually got released. So
Not officially, and incidentally, because watching a bootleg movie would be considered, well, probably not the most legal thing to do. All anecdotes that you hear on this show should be prefaced with the word allegedly. So we have allegedly watched this movie.
yeah,
Theoretically,
yep. I've
theoretically watched this movie.
allegedly watched it several times.
Yes, it's
So
it's in theory. I have seen the Fantastic Four allegedly.
alternate universe in the different dimension, alternate
Yes,
universe.
yes.
Now, what is interesting about the Fantastic Four, from my perspective, is when I first heard of this film, it was kind of a myth, a legend. There were two things in the 90s that were myths and legends in Comic Con world, and one of them was the Star Wars Holiday Special. And the second one was the actual existence of this film, because there was no way you could find it out. You'd heard rumors that they'd made this film, but you never saw any imagery, especially here in Australia. We saw nothing of it. I just knew that someone said a film had been made.
Would you like to hear my story about how I had found out
I
that this
would.
movie had been made? There was a period following Batman 89 where other superhero movies were announced. I remember distinctly coming out of Batman 89 and seeing a poster for Captain America. And I thought, that's it. That's the next one I'm going to see. And then, I don't know, it's like it just kind of disappeared. And then there was rumors of Fantastic Four. Now, keep in mind, back then, my only real memory of Fantastic Four was the Saturday morning cartoon show with Herbie, that guy. So I didn't really think that much about it, but flash forward to 1998. I'm in San Antonio attending Dragon Con. It was quite a big
Okay.
event. J. Michael Straczynski was there. I actually met the man. Yes, he's as full of himself as he seems, and he is awesome. I met Harlan Ellison. He's even fuller of himself, but still awesome. And I got to meet all of these amazing creators and writers. And on the floor, where they were selling things, I found a booth that sold videotapes. And they were little things like Babylon 5 bloopers, Star Trek bloopers. And I thought, that's amazing. Wait, what's this? The Fantastic Four. How interesting. And then I put it back because, again, it was the Fantastic Four. Incidentally, the Star Wars Holiday Special was also there. That was the first confirmation that I had that this movie actually exists, because for a very long time, Marvel said, no, this movie doesn't exist. It's like the government denying aliens. No, it doesn't exist, and anybody who thinks that it does should be committed.
Which is
Well, call me
crazy
crazy.
for them to say,
Call me crazy.
isn't it? Because
It is. It's a conspiracy.
yes, and it is, and well documented in a fantastic documentary that you reminded me to rewatch, and I'll
Yes.
rewatch, which is called Doomed, which is a
Yes.
behind the scenes documentary, how this film actually got put together. So I'm sure we're both going to be drawing anecdotes from it, but certainly go watch it. And one of the
If you are
anecdotes
if you're somebody who idolizes Stan Lee, though, don't watch this movie. Don't watch
well,
this movie, because you're just going to watch this thing. Wow, Stan Lee's kind of an asshole.
he is at that point. He certainly
He was.
he
He
does
was.
recognize its existence early on, but says, "Ah, I'm not expecting much to come from it.
He was
However,
hanging out on the set every day. He's like, "Hi, I'm Stan Lee. I'm here to watch a movie. It's great. It's great." Walks over here. Oh, this movie's gonna be crap. Don't watch it. Uncle Stan. No, you know what? He was human though. Humans have flaws, except for me.
Hey, I tell you what, it did have a banger of a preview poster, which we got right here, which is
Indeed.
kind of
It's
how good does that look?
beautiful. It's
In
beautiful. I love
1994,
it.
you would have seen that and got excited, right? Because
The
look at the
days
silhouettes.
before floating heads. I love it.
Yes, when the creativity existed in the movie poster realm. But no,
I could just see
indeed,
people. I could just see people in theaters watching the trailer going, "The Fantastic Four, yay!" by Roger Corman. Ow!
well, as we know, it did start to actually, it got released somehow. It got leaked, Deadpool style. This film
Yeah.
got its way onto VHS
I
and
want to see that
started
happen
doing
with
the round.
Batgirl.
Correct?
Yes, I want to see that happen with Batgirl and the Coyote versus Acme movie. I want to see it.
Yes, yes. Without going into
I don't
that
care if it's
detail,
VHS quality. I want to see it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something about watching a movie you're not supposed to be watching that's just thrilling. And I cannot, it's like going into a room you're told to stay out of as a kid, or
Exactly.
don't go down that path after dark. So you wait till dark and you go down the path.
You're gonna do it, right?
Yeah,
You're gonna do
thrilling. It's thrilling. Yes.
Well, now when I did eventually see this film, it wasn't until I think it was the early 2000s. It was before the 2005 film, but I did see it then. And honestly, at the time, didn't think much of it. Just went, oh yeah. In that time in my life, I was always, no, superhero film's going to be amazing now. It's the 2000s. We could do it technology. I mean, surely the stories will be perfect, won't they? And the scripts will be great. But as I've gone on in the years, and as I've recently watched it again, I really appreciated watching this film again for all its flaws, Jason, for all its cringiness and bad line readings and questionable special effects. They really nailed the core of these characters in a way that we hadn't seen since now in the films. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the new one yet, but until this point, I think they got elements of the Fantastic Four down better than anyone else.
I have to agree to a point. I definitely think it's better than the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, as we call it, Fantastic. But I kind of like the 20th Century Fox Fantastic Four movies before then, and I know they're garbage. But to me, it's like eating a big candy bar all by yourself. You know it's bad for you, but at the same time, there's just something good about it. Plus, Doug Jones as the Silver Surfer. Yeah, that's just great.
Out of the two, I do prefer the Rise of the Silver Surfer. I will say that.
Yes. Plus, I think one of the best Stan Lee cameos, where he's trying to get into the party and he's like, "I'm Stan Lee, I'm Stan Lee," and they won't let him in because they don't believe him. I think that's great.
At the wedding.
I will say this though. I think the way I said it to you after I watched this movie is the best way I can put it. I don't hate that I've seen it, because especially I didn't see this movie until after I saw the documentary a few years ago. Because after I saw the documentary, my first thought was, I have to see this movie. And so I watched the movie, and knowing what I know from the documentary, because in case you have not seen the documentary, you don't know the behind the scenes drama. The people who made this movie cared about this movie. They finished this movie when they were given no initiative to, when they were given no motivation to. When even Roger Corman was like, "Look, I took $1 million so that this movie would be burned. We're not going to finish it." They finished it anyway because it was something that they cared deeply about. And people on this movie were comic book fans. We were just saying earlier, Jay Underwood, the young man who plays Johnny, I almost said Johnny Five, who played Johnny Storm. He was established enough at the point that he did not have to do this movie.
No,
he was not what I would call a superstar, but he was certainly well known.
He'd headlined a couple of movies by then. The Boy Who Could Fly,
The Invisible Kid. Yeah, the Invisible Kid. He did
There's
in a
3.
few.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he did not have to do a bare bones Roger Corman movie,
Right.
but he did it because he thought it would be cool to play Johnny Storm. And whenever this movie got basically junked, it broke their hearts.
Yeah.
And the documentary makes you sad. It makes you angry because these were people who genuinely cared about their art and they cared about their product, and they knew it was flawed. They knew it was flawed, but they still loved it. It's like my parents loving me.
Well, yes, it's flawed, and here we go. Here we've got the look of the cast. I will stand by Alex Hyde White performance in this. He to me gives actually a pretty good Mr. Fantastic kind of iteration. He's doing the
There are
best
no
with
weak
some
links.
horrible lines that he has to deliver
Oh,
in some of the weirdest kind of situations, but he does all right.
Yeah.
The
No,
action documentary, Chris Gore, who was the on-set reporter for that entire movie, like he puts it best. He goes, "Look, I know there was only going to be a couple of effect shots, but in 1994, you take what you get back then. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You just
Yeah.
take it because that's the era of, the Incredible Hulk returns and Captain America, Reb Brown's Captain America, which is god awful.
I've actually never seen that one, so
you should check it
future
out.
episode maybe.
Yes,
Maybe a
definitely.
future episode.
Yeah.
Whenever when the new Captain America movie hits, there we go. We'll do it for that movie.
Captain America 4, yes.
Yes.
Early next year. Okay, I also thought it was something what I learned is the guy that plays the Thing, and I thought this is hilarious because the guy who plays the Thing, right, who's not actually that guy at all, is actually really good. He plays a great Ben Grimm. And he's this big, strapping, taller than you, dude. Big guy. He's a big, muscly, and you see him with his shirt off. That's not who's playing the Thing in this movie. A guy who's a lot shorter, apparently, playing the guy.
I do love how they had to shrink the Thing to do the transformation sequence. That was great.
Yeah. However, the reason I bring it up though is the suit of the Thing. No budget, right? We got no money for this movie at all.
Well, they spent half the budget on the suit. I will say that. But
they make it look. It's not perfect, but it's pretty great. And I will say it's a better suit than what they deliver in 2005.
I'm going to have to reluctantly agree.
Yeah, because the head is much better.
It brings more comic accuracy, and to me, it brings more personality as well, which is strange because that was Michael Chiklis under the suit, being Michael Chiklis. But to me, this one is, even though it's like a puppet and it's just servos moving in there, it's very emotive.
And I would
even put it above that CGI monstrosity from Fan Four Stick. This one's really good.
Yeah, really good, which works, Jay Underwood, come back to him. He's great. Not a great fit for Johnny Storm.
No.
I think
not his fault, though.
No, not his fault. I think he turned it up to 11 when maybe it should have been an 8 or a 9. But, however, and the poor dear who they Rebecca Starb, I think her name was, who they got to as Susan Storm. Oh dear, sorry. I'm sure you were great in other things, but you were not good in this film.
No, I hate to say that. I hate to punch down on. I hate to punch down on actors, especially in low budget movies like this, but it was not the vibe, unfortunately.
She had no rehearsal time, so let's give them some slack.
No,
like, they didn't rehearse a thing.
Plus, it was basically shoot this scene. Okay, now let's shoot this scene. Okay, now let's shoot this scene. Can we do that again? No, shoot this scene. So it was very high. From what I understand, it was a very, very fast-paced production.
Yeah. Now, the actor who they got to portray Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom.
That was my favorite part of the movie, is when they're just like, if only we knew who Doom is. Who could Doom be? You know, it reminds me of my friend, Victor Von Doom. I wish he was still alive so he could help us figure out who Doom is.
As you can see with this little gif here, he is fabulous.
Hey, I'm also going to say, I'm also going to say, hands down, that's the best Doctor Doom costume that has ever been on screen.
Not getting an argument from me.
Yeah, from the Goofy 2 movies to the overly dramatic Fan 4 stick, it's the best one. That's it. Hands down, comic accurate, looks great. And I know it was basically like arms and head and cloak, and there was nothing else to it. But you know what? It didn't need anything else. It looked like Doctor Doom more than any of the other ones did.
You know what they were very clever at is how they shot Doctor Doom for a lot, because they got this really great visual of his eye behind the mask, and they would do a bit of a like a real zoom in when he was talking, but it was so comic accurate because it was like the pupil completely took up that square rectangular space, and it just gave the scariness to it. Like. Even the suit, you can't. If you start ripping into his suit, you're ripping into the comic book version. Well.
that is Doctor Doom. That's it. He's Doctor Doom.
That's exactly what it is. I even like he had a. I love his throne. I love that his castle was on a cliff face with some sort of tornado forming in the background. But
it's so over the top. But you can't do Doctor Doom with subtlety. You cannot do a villain who refers to himself in the third person as Doom wants to do this. Doom feels like pizza tonight. Oh no, Doom has to go lay a Doom in the toilet. It's
his maniacal laugh at one point made me laugh. Yeah, it was so over the top, but perfect for this film. It's like he got it. Like, and even he's interviewed and he thought he was going to be something else, but his performance is so in tune with the movie that they were making. And it was wonderful. One little bit of a disappointment, because if you are a comic book fan, they have a character called, what's it called? The Jeweler.
Yes.
Which is really the fact they couldn't get the rights to Mole Man.
Yeah, he's Mole Man.
He's Mole Man. He's Mole Man. That's the way I see it as well.
Yeah.
And plays a big part in the plot because he, for some reason, has a replica of the strangest looking diamond ever in existence. He has an exact replica, which is great. We don't need to know how he got it.
As one would, it's fine.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. But it leads, it's an interesting kind of telling of their origin. And I'm sure the comic book fans out there, I think there's some slight alterations, but it's pretty accurate to the origin of and we've seen a few different origins of the Fantastic Four over the years, but I didn't mind it. They're in space. They got the bad something. They've been kind of poisoned, and the crashes scene is hilarious because that crash scene, nobody lives from a crash scene like this,
and no one seems to care. Everybody just gets up and, wow, that was a bad crash. I would be like, where's Sue? Where's Johnny? Yeah. Where are they dead? No. I'm under here. Help. Yeah. Help. Thank you, Ben. Oh, wow. That was a heck of a landing.
I feel no pain.
Oh, hi, Johnny. How are you? Have you seen Sue? I don't know. She's around here somewhere.
And what's stunningly, I can't believe they do this. We spend 15 minutes at that crash site.
Yeah.
We not only do the inevitable, obviously the crash, but they decide to go camping that night too and continue to stay there.
As one would.
For what reason? I have no idea.
As one would, because we need to burn some minutes and we need to do it as cheaply as possible. So let's set a fire and let's do a camp scene.
That's it. And don't worry that the army or anything that would have been notified of this thing crashing into takes 12 hours to show up at one point. It just takes forever.
Oh, yeah. It must have landed I don't know. It must have landed in Tasmania or something.
I don't know. But we get a wonderful, and I almost feel like this scene has been stolen by a film called Armageddon, where we get this great little montage of the Fantastic Four talking to a doctor.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about too.
Yeah, you know the montage Armageddon they use. It's very similar, and there's some funny, they're genuinely funny bits in that scene.
There are. Take your own blood. Okay.
which is great, you know, and all of
It's
them. I
very
listen,
comic booky. It's very pulpy, and I love it.
it's
I just love
great.
the. There's a campiness that this movie owns, not only because it has to, but because it wants to. And this could have
Yeah,
been overly serious, but they're just like, nah,
yeah.
nah. We're making this movie for less than $1 million. Nah.
Nah, we've just got to go for the go for the comic book tone, and they kind of do it great. I mean, it's just some wonderful moments in there. The thing here, the fact they do the old classic, let's beat up the scientists and then try to break ourselves out.
It's
Um,
clobbering time. How many
we
times
get
does he say that in
get the
this
line,
movie? He says it like 3 times. It's great.
yeah, and it's great because we get it once, I think, in the first Fantastic. He might have said it a couple of times, but yeah, Chitless, great actor. I love that guy. He's
Yes.
fantastic, right? Never did like him as the thing, and the performance here in the thing says, "Sorry, buddy, let's stay to your more dramatic roles because
Yeah. I hate to say that too because I really like Michael Chiklis, but
yeah,
the thing was not the. I don't think Jessica Alba was really. Was it
uh,
Jessica Alba? Yeah.
Jessica Alba. I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
There's the problems they've had, and even what's her name? Is it Rooney Mara or
I don't know.
whatever
I
the
know who
actress
you're
who they
talking
got
about.
for
You
the
know, just
2015 version? They've never cast Sue Storm right.
no.
And
No.
who they've cast in this new one upcoming is very interesting because Vanessa
Yes.
Kirby is a very talented actress. And yeah, it'll be great to see what she does with it. But here we no performance isn't the game. The schlock and the fun, that's where the game is in this
Indeed, it
movie,
is,
right?
and this movie has loads of it.
Oh, I mean, let's just look at that bad
Yeah, this is
special
when they
effect.
try to beam on board the Enterprise, but the beam gets messed up, and whatever they got back didn't live very long.
That's
Fortunately,
fantastic, right?
it is
And I mean,
fantastic. That's the whole game. Yes.
that's the whole game of it. And check it out. We do get to see the ship right at the end, if though for a moment. Um,
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind that design of these buildings. You can see them going with that in another film and making it kind of look like that's close to being comic book cartoon series accurate almost, except for the 4 4s in a row. So, but yeah,
Almost. Yeah,
doesn't
I
look
thought
like
it
a
looked
model
good.
at all.
I
At
thought
all.
it looked fine. It looks like a TV channel though. Like it looks like a TV channel. You know, you're watching Channel 4. Coming up next, Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very simple plot. There's not a lot that really happens in this. We get to see Ben Grimm's
They
girlfriend who
couldn't
plays a
they couldn't afford a
partner.
complicated plot.
No, no, they just couldn't. But what they come out with in the end is a film that should have been released, Jason. There's no
I agree.
reason this thing couldn't have made a lot of money on VHS or at the smaller theaters at the time. We've seen stuff that's way worse than this film. Way
Oh wait,
worse.
we've seen Fantastic Four movies that are way worse than this.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I have been very vocal in my utter disdain and loathing of writing entire movies and works of art off as tax breaks.
Mm.
And this
Ugh.
is one of the first examples I can think of, which I know that it's not wasn't really a tax break. They got paid to not release it, but to me, you deny experiences, and I think an experience is something that is priceless, and you rob people of that experience whenever you deny them that experience, and you do
Yeah,
it
I
for
agree.
money. And I think that is such a scummy thing to do. Is just do it for money. In the case of like Batgirl or Coyote versus Acme or Final Space, anything that studios write off as tax breaks, I think they should immediately go into the public domain because that's our tax money paying for
Yeah.
them. We
Yeah.
should get them.
Yeah, I agree. And this, unfortunately, what's wrapped around in a very kind of cute, schlocky, B-grade, fun little film is the darker side of Hollywood, the
Yep.
corporatization of Hollywood. Because you've got to remember, by the time the end of the 80s, all the old studio heads, they passed on. And
Yep.
at this time, it's corporations that own all the studios now. And now that
Yeah.
corporations have owned it, we're starting to see the seedy underbelly, and Fantastic Four definitely being one of them, you know. And it was, it's a tragedy that kind of it turned out like that. This film, I'm not only going to recommend this film to watch, but I absolutely think you need to watch it with Dude. What
You
I
do have to
can't,
watch it.
yeah, what I can't work out is, do you watch the documentary before the film or after the film? Because I've seen it after the film and
I
loved
would
it.
recommend before. I would say watch Doomed and then watch the Fantastic Four because it gave me an appreciation for this movie that I think otherwise I wouldn't have had. But both of these films are available for free on YouTube. Allegedly, one of them is
Mhm.
available free on YouTube. You
Allegedly.
can watch it,
That's
but
the rumor.
that would be wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have
How could
something
you
in
live
my
with yourself?
I have something in my eye. Hold on. Yes, anyway, that would be wrong. Doomed is also available on Tubi in the United States if you want to go that way. If you want to watch it with
Yeah.
commercials, go for it.
And in
Otherwise,
Australia
it's on
on
YouTube.
Tubi. Internationally, it's on Tubi. So,
Excellent. Excellent. So you
which
can
is
choose
great.
to watch it with commercials or without, whatever
I mean,
your whatever your kink is.
you've got to find it, because otherwise you're missing out on one of the great scenes, Jason. And I almost forgot to play it because you gave it to me.
Oh my gosh, I've got it
One
right
of the
here. Here we
best
go.
things in this movie, Jason. Please play it for us. It's hey, it's still
There was
impressive
no
that they
editing
got
done to that.
CG in this film. It's 94 and they have CGI in this film.
They do.
They do.
To
Yeah.
a point. They have
To a
they have
point.
CGI to the way that Star Trek 2 had CGI.
Yeah. Well, Star
And
Trek 2
Star
had
Trek 2
better
did have
CGI.
it did. It was actually Pixar's first, or the company that would become Pixar. It was their first. That was their first special effect CGI special effect they'd ever done. So Star Trek 2
Yeah.
is part of cinematic history.
Of course it is. Of course it
Yes.
is. This is part of cinematic history for a whole different reason, Jason, and I appreciate its existence. I think Marvel needs to just, and they've been pretty good about this, embracing everything that has the Marvel name attached to it and bringing it home. This deserves to be brought home and celebrated for what it is. And I think you'll find, Jason, when the next Fantastic Four comes out and it's a big success, that's hoping it is, then they'll absolutely, this film, you'll be able to watch on Disney Plus. I have no doubt at some point.
I hope so, and I will tell you something else. I want to see these guys make an appearance in the Secret Wars movie. I think that if Nicolas Cage's freaking Superman can show up in the multiverse of the Flash movie, these guys can show up in Secret Wars, even if it's just a blink and you miss it thing. I want to see these guys in Secret Wars because I think it would be fantastic. Pun intended.
There you go.
It
All
would
right,
be
guys.
fantastic for that movie.
Oh, now you went too far. All right, guys.
Never.
That ends this week's VHS Vault. Now, next week we're going to be back in the Aliens world with the sequel to Aliens. So that'll be fantastic.
This time it's war.
This time it's war. And James Cameron's like second ever film. Yeah, second film.
Was this
first
his
film? He
second
actually
ever?
this
Really?
third. So I'm toying whether he really count Piranha 2 or not.
We do count Piranha 2 because it's outstanding. Also a Roger Corman movie, if I'm not mistaken. Because James Cameron cut his teeth in the Roger Corman studios. So we're continuing our tribute to Roger Corman into next week.
Absolutely. So we're doing Aliens, but the week after, we don't have anything, guys. So we need to know what we're going to be watching next. And Jason, how do they do that? How do they dictate our fate?
You said dictate. Anyway, what you can do is you can look in the video description below and you will see a link to our Patreon. Go join our Patreon for as little as $5 a month to support these stupid, wonderful, idiotic things that we do. And you can order us to watch a movie on your behalf. It can be a great movie. It can be a painful movie. It can be a movie that sucks the life force from our desiccated remains, or it can be a movie that will bless us with life. Our lives are in your hands. So please join our Patreon. Details are below.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next time on the VHS Vault.
Oh, that was an accident. That was totally an accident. Sorry.
Do it again.